One reason that narcissistic abuse can be so insidious and also can last so long is people who are suffering from narcissistic abuse often and usually don't realize that that's what's happening because there are so many things that are happening to you as a victim of narcissistic abuse that you are manipulated into looking at in a different way and blaming yourself for these things. So in today's video, I want to go over 3 specific things that I know I experienced when I was suffering from narcissistic abuse that I couldn't see clearly. And I want to explain the ways that I was looking at these things in hopes that if anyone out there is living in similar confusion, that I can help you see what's happening to you with a little more clarity and from a different perspective. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. And as I do at the beginning of any video like this one, I have to introduce whatever little animal friend is accompanying me today, and that's Limonene. She just got a haircut this week, so we can see her face a lot more clearly. She's so excited to be here, right? I don't know what she's gonna do. You might have already heard her pitter-pattering around while I was doing the introduction. Hopefully she won't make too much noise, but she's gonna be in here with me today. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, which can be a hidden sign of narcissistic abuse, is feeling like a failure or feeling like you aren't doing enough and that it's your fault. You are lazy, you're phoning it in, you're not trying hard enough. You deserve to be demeaned and insulted and yelled at. You deserve to be rejected because you're not doing enough. You're not organized enough. You don't keep things clean enough. You're not smart enough. You're not earning enough money. And because you're not enough and because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you deserve for your partner or whoever is abusing you to emotionally abuse you. So you're not recognizing it as abuse because you believe that you're bringing this onto yourself through your failures. And I should have said this in the beginning, but I'm going to really frame this video from the perspective of somebody in a romantic partnership with a narcissist, but of course, that's not always the case. Narcissistic abuse happens in all different types of relationships, but just for the purpose of this video, I think it's going to be simpler to frame it from the perspective of someone in a romantic relationship. So I just wanted to say that in the beginning, that when I do that, it does apply to any type of relationship. But for this particular example, I want to share an experience that I had a long time ago, and I probably already shared this, but I was in a long-term serious relationship with somebody who told me towards the beginning of the relationship that he basically wasn't interested in being in a relationship with me if I didn't learn how to cook and learn how to cook well and cook all the time. So at the time, I could not see how unreasonable I now believe this is. So I learned how to cook, and we got married, and I cooked for him a lot, or I knew how important this was. But this turned into an ongoing, constant routine of me trying to cook enough and cook good enough. And cooking was something that made me lovable and acceptable. And I somehow couldn't see how unreasonable that was. That I wasn't being loved because of who I was. I was being loved because of how much I was doing, how well I was cooking. And so this turned into a routine of me constantly worried about whether or not I was cooking enough and whether or not I was cooking the right things. And I had a job at the time. So it was very common and normal for me in the afternoons to start thinking like, did I plan what I'm going to cook tonight? wow, I'm really tired, I'm really stressed out. If we get takeout tonight, is that going to be okay? And I would internalize the failure that I was. And if my partner was disappointed in me in a way that made me feel like, not just that he was disappointed that he wasn't going to have dinner, you know, that he wasn't going to have what he wanted for dinner, but disappointed that I was a worthless human being and he couldn't love me anymore because I wasn't trying hard enough to cook what he wanted. Which I think I couldn't see the difference between those two things. And I think that's a real problem with narcissistic abuse, is you internalize the shame and the insults that you don't deserve. It was nice that I learned how to cook. It was nice when I cooked, but it wasn't reasonable for me to view that as something that somehow made me a worthwhile human being. And I couldn't see the difference. And I think this is a really important thing to think about. When your partner is disappointed in you because you didn't take the garbage out, or you didn't cook them dinner, or you didn't do something that they normally expect or want you to do, are they disappointed that that thing didn't happen? Are they frustrated or even aggravated about what it was they were expecting? Or are they making you feel like their disappointment means that you are a failure as a human being and that you don't even deserve to be loved anymore, that you're not lovable? There's a huge difference between somebody who, say, loves it when their partner cooks dinner for them and really enjoys that and is excited about it when it happens, and a partner who flat out says, I don't even want to be with you if you don't cook me dinner, and rejects that person as a human being. But as a victim of narcissistic abuse, you might not be cognizant of the difference between those two things, and you might blur them together and mistakenly put that on yourself and believe that you deserve to be rejected if you don't do these things that are expected of you. And I also want to add, in the experience that I had with this cooking thing, it was never really enough. Sure, there were certain nights that maybe I really hit a home run and I cooked a good dinner, but the next day it would just start up all over again. And I never really was doing it good enough for him. And that's the other thing with narcissistic abuse, is no matter how hard you try, you're never really going to be good enough. You're never really going to be able to redeem yourself and be worthy of love and hit that mark and arrive in this magical place where you're no longer this failure that you've been convinced that you are. And another distinction I want to make is between somebody who is unable to meet the needs of a specific person and somebody who's a worthless, unlovable human being, which a narcissist will mush together for you and make you believe that if you aren't able to meet their needs, that means that you're a worthless, unlovable human being. But let me just give you the example of maybe somebody who just isn't a physically affectionate person. Maybe somebody that's just not comfortable cuddling and showing a lot of physical affection, and they're in a relationship with somebody who really craves a lot of physical affection and a lot of cuddling and that kind of thing. Well, if I'm this person, if I'm somebody that just really isn't comfortable with a lot of physical affection, and I'm with someone who craves physical affection, I'm probably not going to be able to meet that person's needs because of this specific incompatibility. But that doesn't mean that I'm a worthless, unlovable person. That just means that with the unique traits that I have, I am probably not a good match for this other person. That doesn't mean that I'm not a good match for anyone and that I don't deserve love unless I change myself to be able to meet the specific needs of this person. But when you're with a narcissist, because they're so self-absorbed, they really truly believe that if you can't meet their needs specifically, then you are a worthless human being. What good are you to anyone if you specifically aren't designed to meet every need that they've ever had? So they'll treat you that way. And unfortunately, they will convince a lot of people that you are a worthless, unlovable human being if you can't meet their needs. And of course, if you're with a narcissist, you'll never really be able to meet their needs. The second hidden sign of narcissistic abuse is to feel afraid of your partner. And this can often be misinterpreted or misunderstood as just being nervous for reasonable reasons. But I've said it quite a lot. If you're in a relationship with someone who really truly loves you and cares about you, you should not feel afraid of them. And I think it's really easy to convince yourself that it's normal to feel nervous around someone who's supposed to love you when maybe that's all you've known. You know, if you grew up in a home with a parent who always made you feel like you were walking on eggshells, always made you feel afraid and nervous, and that was your template of what love meant, it makes sense that you would go forward into adult relationships and not be able to understand the difference or to see how unreasonable it is to be afraid of the people that you live with. And you're probably not consciously going to think of it as being afraid of them, but more just being a little nervous or uneasy around them. So to make a distinction between normal and a possible sign of narcissistic abuse, I think it's normal to feel nervous when you need to tell your partner something, maybe something really bad that you did. Maybe you lied to them about something, or maybe you even cheated on them or did something really awful and you have to tell them. Or maybe you did something not quite so serious, you know, maybe you broke a family heirloom they had or something, and you have to tell them. I think it's perfectly normal to feel nervous to talk to your partner about something that a reasonable person's going to be very upset about. That's normal. But as a victim of narcissistic abuse, it's easy to conflate that normal experience with feeling nervous that your partner is going to be upset with you because you didn't cook dinner the right way, or just feeling nervous that they're kind of quiet. You know, if they've just been quiet for a few hours and it makes you feel on edge, it makes you feel fear and afraid. Or if you can't talk to them about things that are bothering you, little things, the way that they said something to you, or the way they treat you, or maybe something they want to do, they're planning on that you really, really don't want to do, and you are too afraid to talk to them about how you feel and what you want. That's not normal. It's not normal to be afraid to talk to your partner, but it's easy to confuse this with normal nervousness of talking to your partner about things that a normal person would be very upset by. It's not normal to feel nervous and afraid when you're talking to your partner about the way you're saying things. You know, it's normal to feel like you should phrase, you know, when you're talking about a delicate subject, it's normal to be attentive and cognizant of how you're saying things, of communicating in a productive way and not being unnecessarily abrasive. It's normal to try to speak in a empathetic, constructive way. It's not normal to be afraid that you're going to step in a landmine. You're going to say the wrong word, or you're going to say the word the wrong way, or you're going to like shift your eyes the wrong way. And it's going to be like you stepped in a landmine, and the conversation is going to be completely unsalvageable, and it's going to be all your fault because you said the wrong word the wrong way. It's not normal to be afraid and nervous in a conversation in that way. This is a sign of narcissistic abuse because narcissists are completely unpredictable. They can fly off the handle over some little tiny thing that doesn't matter, and the next day they might stay in a completely normal, calm mood when something much worse happens. And then maybe the exact same thing happens 2 days later and they fly off the handle over, you know, something that 2 days ago was just fine. And so when you're with someone who is so volatile and so unpredictable and can be so angry over things that you honestly cannot control or predict, of course you're going to feel nervous and afraid a lot of the time. I think another red flag that you should look out for is how you feel when your partner comes home. You know, I remember the sound of the garage door opening I would feel dread. And I wasn't completely conscious of it. It wasn't like I said to myself, oh no, he's home. Oh, my stomach dropped. But I was feeling dread, but I was also kind of in denial about it. So I wasn't really willing to fully face what was happening in my body, the dread, the fear, is everything put together the right way? Is dinner ready? Is he going to be in a bad mood when he comes through the door? How do you feel when your partner comes home? Or how do you feel when your partner is approaching you? Are you a little nervous? If that's what you call it? You know, am I good enough? Is everything good enough that I'm going to be treated with basic respect and dignity? Or is there something that I can't see right now or control right now that I'm going to be punished for right when this person approaches me? Like, I don't know. It's totally unpredictable. And also, when you're with a narcissist and you're nervous about how quiet they are, or maybe you worry, like, did I say the wrong thing? Or do they like the dinner I cooked? You can't just ask them about it. That's another red flag. You can't just talk about it. So you really just have to sit there and wonder in this uncomfortable nervousness and fear, because if you try to bring it up, now you've made an issue about it and you're going to be punished for that. The third hidden sign of narcissistic abuse that I want to talk about is the way that you might hide things. When you're in an abusive relationship, it's really common to feel like you can't be transparent with people about what's actually happening. And I think there's a lot of layers to this. I did a reel recently where I talked about this, and I said that one reason that you will hide things or lie about things or sugarcoat things is that you're in denial, you're not ready to face the reality that you've got problems and that this person is treating you badly. And so you're kind of lying to other people, but you're kind of lying to yourself at the same time. And or maybe at the same time, you're also embarrassed because you know that if you say out loud the things your partner is doing, it's going to sound bad. But again, maybe you're in denial, and in your head you're thinking, well, but it was just this one time, and you know, he or she or they really were in a bad mood, and they're normally not like that. And so I don't want to make them look bad by saying out loud what it was they did, because that's not really them. They were just in a bad mood. And just doing these mental gymnastics to justify why you can't tell anybody about what's really happening. But I think another layer to this, and I know I definitely remained in a lot of confusion about this for a long time, is just this feeling that if you're loyal to your partner and, you know, you're on their side, and this is someone you're trying to have a trusting relationship with, of course you're not going to go telling other people things they're doing behind their back. I honestly believed that if I started telling people certain things that my partner was saying to me, doing to me, that would make me a bad person and a bad partner. Because a good partner doesn't go spreading their dirty laundry around to their friends or coworkers or whoever. They keep those things private. And yeah, there's some truth to that. But I want to now make the distinction between being mindful of what you share and being respectful and loyal to a trustworthy partner, and keeping secrets about things that you really need to reach out to someone about, that you really need help with. And one distinction to make is between things that your partner has done, or things that maybe your partner wouldn't want everyone to know about, things they might be embarrassed about, and things that your partner is doing to you, ways they're treating you, things they're saying to you, maybe ways they're physically harming you or emotionally harming you. Those are not the same thing. Also, I want to make a distinction between something that happened and things that are happening. So if your partner committed wire fraud 8 years ago and they've paid the price for it and you've decided to work through that with them. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense that you would tell your coworkers that your partner committed wire fraud 8 years ago. Why would you go around telling people that when they don't need to know, right? But if your partner yelled at you and insulted you until 3 o'clock in the morning last night, and now you're half asleep trying to get through the day, and your close friend asks you if you're okay, and you lie and you say yes, that's completely different. That's something that you're dealing with currently. That's something that's happening to you and is affecting you, and you're keeping it to yourself. So those are very different things. When something is harming you and the person that you're supposed to be able to go to for problems and for help and support is the person who is harming you, you deserve help and support. And there's no reason that you can't reach out to somebody who actually can help and support you when the person that you're supposed to be able to go to is the one doing those things to you. And I think that's kind of part of the problem is before we're ready to do that, we have this fantasy in our head of what the relationship is. We started this relationship believing that our partner was the one person we could trust and it was us against the world, and we love each other, we're best friends, we can tell each other anything. You have this fantasy in your head of how wonderful this person is. And when you're with a narcissist who is abusing you, that's where you start. And you can't just overnight, well, I guess you can, but there's a process between that place, that fantasy, and the day that you realize, oh, wait a minute, this person is my enemy. This is not my friend. This person's abusing me and I need outside help. I need to, quote, betray this person, which is how the narcissist will frame it, that if you talk to people about what they're doing to you, that you are somehow betraying them. But you need to, quote, betray them in order to save yourself. You need to choose between betraying the narcissist and betraying yourself by not reaching out for help and not doing the things that you need to do to protect yourself. But there's a big leap between believing that this person is your friend and the one person you can trust and the most wonderful, loving person in the world, and recognizing that you're basically at war now with this person and you need to reach out to someone else to help you deal with this person that you thought you could trust. And this is especially bad when you're dealing with narcissists, because narcissists absolutely demand loyalty. This is a big, big deal for them. And any sign of betrayal is harshly punished. And like I said, they will perceive this as betrayal. Even though they're actively harming you, they've got all these justifications in their head of why you deserve it. Like the first problem that I illustrated. You deserve to be yelled at. I wouldn't be yelling at you and insulting you if you didn't do the things that force me to treat you that way. So if you want me to be nice to you, then you need to change. You don't deserve my respect. You need to try harder. It's really hard to get your mind out of all of this when you're in a relationship with somebody who's constantly convincing you that you deserve to be treated the way they're treating you. You need to try harder, and you can't reach out for help because that will compound the problems. That will really make them mad. And now you got to deal with this person who's already very difficult being angry at you for reaching out for help. And so when you're in a healthy relationship, you should never feel like you can't talk to people about the things that are happening. Of course, you're not going to say embarrassing things that your partner does that they probably don't want everyone to know about, but you're not going to feel like you need to hide the things that your partner is doing to you. That's the big distinction between being discreet in an appropriate way and hiding things that are hurting you. And narcissists are notorious for starting relationships by creating an us versus them mentality or feeling and convincing you that you can't trust other people and that you can only trust them. That's a really common manipulation tactic that many of them will do. So that's another roadblock you've got to get through, is undoing this programming of us versus them, and recognizing that this person that you thought was the only person that was going to protect you from the rest of the world is actually the one you need protecting from. So if these are things that you're struggling with, I hope this video can help you put things in a more helpful perspective to help you clarify some confusion, and of course, these things don't always happen because you're in a narcissistically abusive relationship. But I think these internalized habits and beliefs can be remnants, if nothing else, can be remnants from abusive relationships you've been in the past. It's not normal to be afraid of the person you're with, but maybe you're afraid of them because of how someone else treated you and you haven't dealt with those fears yet. But I think you can tell the difference when you really stop and think about it. Is this person treating me in a way that's perpetuating these irrational fears I have, or these fears that I shouldn't have in a healthy relationship? And also, if you feel like a failure, you feel like you're not doing enough, you're too lazy, you're not smart enough, you don't clean things enough, you don't cook right. Is that because your partner is perpetuating these beliefs? Your partner is making you feel like you're not lovable if you don't do these things? Or is this something you're carrying forward from a previous relationship, maybe with a parent, where you were convinced that you're not enough and that you're not lovable if you're not doing X, Y, and Z? And that might be a really important question to ask yourself. Where are these beliefs and habits coming from? And who is reinforcing them in my current life, if anyone? I think if you feel like you have to hide things that are happening to you right now, that's a pretty big red flag. I can't really think of a way that you would be carrying that forward from a previously abusive relationship. But I don't know. If you can think of an exception, of course, share it in the comments. But if you feel like there are things you want to talk about, you want to tell somebody, but then you feel like you shouldn't, you should keep it to yourself, you should sugarcoat it, you should hide it, I think that's, I can't think of a reason that would be happening that wouldn't be pointing to something very, very seriously wrong in that relationship. So the point of this video is, I know that when you get to the point where you are dealing with these types of things, that you have gotten to a point where something doesn't feel right and you are in distress, and you're either blaming yourself or you're still confused. You're not ready to acknowledge the reality. And I think it can be very helpful to receive validation for things that you probably already know deep down somewhere, because the narcissist isn't going to validate these feelings you have. They're going to tell you you're imagining things and that all of these fears and insecurities that you're feeling are completely your fault or your imagination. So I'm just here to tell you that these are signs that you may be in an abusive relationship, or you may have remnants of an abusive relationship from your past that you're carrying forward to today. These things are not normal. These are signs that something's not right. And you deserve a life of peace and safety. You deserve to know that no matter how much you cook dinner or how, quote, lazy you are, or whatever it is you do or don't do, you deserve to be loved and accepted as a human being. Messing up one day, not cooking dinner the right way one day, or not taking the garbage out one time, doesn't mean that you deserve to just suddenly be shut off from love or acceptance. It doesn't say anything about your worth as a human being. You deserve acceptance. You deserve a place where you can trust where you are, where you're safe, where the ground is solid. It shouldn't be this constant race and this constant effort to try to find safety, like you're constantly treading water and not understanding that you deserve better than this, because you do. So I hope that illustrating all of these things can help you see that. And also that if you're struggling with these things in your current relationship and you can't talk to your partner about these things, trying to address these things with your partner is going to result in more abuse, in more shame, in more fear. That's another thing that you really need to take a look at, because that's not normal. You deserve someone that you can really trust, not just someone who tells you that you can trust them. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye. Well, Lemonine's been very quiet throughout the video. She's just been rolled up in a bagel right here, but here she is. Say hello. Say hello to everybody. Hello. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.